The neon lights of Las Vegas were bright and colorful. They buzzed above the streets and made everything look like a rainbow. People walked up and down the busy road called the Strip, smiling and talking excitedly. It felt like something big was about to happen. That's because tonight was fight night, a big deal in this city. Everyone was ready to see a huge battle. Inside a giant arena, thousands of people sat in seats all around. They cheered loudly. It was so loud it felt like the building might shake. Everyone was waiting for the main event, the biggest fight of the night. In the center of all the excitement was Rico the Wolf Vega. Rico was only 26 years old, but he was already a big star in MMA fighting. MMA stands for Mixed Martial Arts, and Rico was one of the best. He had never lost a fight, not even once. His record was 18 wins and 0 losses. People knew he was tough and strong, but also loud and full of attitude. He liked to talk big and act like no one could beat him. Rico was tall, about 6 feet 2 inches, with big muscles and a shaved head. His body was covered in tattoos. When he walked, he moved like he owned the whole world. He loved being in the spotlight, and he wasn't shy about showing off. But something was happening backstage. Something that no one expected. A meeting was about to happen that would surprise everyone. Rico walked through the VIP lounge, a fancy place where famous and rich people relaxed before the fight. His team of friends and trainers followed him closely like a group of wolves. They laughed and joked, knowing Rico was the main star of the night. The lounge was filled with shiny lights, expensive drinks, and lots of important people, celebrities, business owners, and fight fans. Everyone was dressed up and excited. Rico looked around, hoping people were watching him. He loved attention. Then he saw someone sitting in the corner. A face he knew. It was Keanu Reeves, the famous action movie star. Keanu was in his late 50s, but he still looked cool and strong. He wore a black suit and sat quietly with a glass of whiskey. He didn't need to do anything loud to get noticed. His quiet stare was strong enough. But Rico didn't care. To him, Keanu was just an old actor who pretended to be tough in movies. Rico laughed and shouted, "Yo, Reeves." His loud voice made people turn and look. "What's a movie star doing in my world?" he said, loud and rude. "Are you here to see a real man fight?" His friends laughed behind him, enjoying the moment. Rico walked over to Keanu's table. He stood tall and leaned forward, so he looked even bigger. "Bet you couldn't last 10 seconds in the cage with me," he said. "Go back to your fake movies, old man." The whole lounge got quiet. You could feel the air getting thick like something big was going to happen. Keanu didn't look scared. He didn't yell or move fast. He just took a sip of his drink and looked right at Rico. "Are you done?" Keanu asked in a low, calm voice. Even though he spoke softly, it sounded serious. Rico blinked. Just for a second, his smirk faded. But then he laughed again. "What, you gonna act tough now? I'd break you like a stick." Rico bragged. "Say when and where, old man." Keanu set his glass down on the table. It made a small clink sound, but for some reason, it felt loud. "Careful what you wish for, kid," Keanu said, standing up. Keanu was only 5 feet 10 inches, shorter than Rico. But something about how he stood, it felt like he wasn't afraid. He stood still like a lion waiting to pounce. Rico's smile came back. "Let's do it then. After my fight. I'll crush you, action hero." The crowd around them whispered. Some people laughed. Others looked a little worried. Keanu just nodded. A tiny smile played on his lips. "All right. After your fight." The news spread super fast. By the time Rico walked into the octagon for the real fight, everyone was talking about his challenge to Keanu Reeves. People in the crowd whispered to each other. Fans made bets. Social media was full of comments like, "Is this real? Rico versus Reeves." Rico didn't care. He was ready. He stepped into the octagon to defend his title against an older fighter named Leon Morales. Leon had been around a long time, but he wasn't fast anymore. Rico was amazing. He punched and kicked with speed and power. He threw Leon to the ground again and again. The fight lasted 3 rounds before Leon finally gave up and tapped out. Rico had won again. The crowd cheered and screamed, "Wolf! Wolf! Wolf!" Rico lifted his arms in the air. He smiled big, feeling like a king. But in his mind, he wasn't done yet. He was ready for the next fight. He was going to show Keanu Reeves that actors couldn't fight for real. Backstage, in a quiet area, a small ring had been set up. It wasn't a real octagon, but it looked close. Ropes were put up around it, and soft mats were on the floor. A few important people stood around watching. Promoters, fighters, trainers, and VIPs. The air was buzzing with energy. Nobody knew if this was a real fight or just a show. But everyone was excited. Rico arrived first. He was still shirtless, his gloves still on from the earlier fight. Sweat dripped from his arms and chest. He started to throw some practice punches in the air, showing off. "Where's the movie star?" Rico shouted, laughing. Don't tell me he ran away scared. Then, Keanu Reeves walked in. He had changed clothes. Now he wore a simple black tank top and athletic shorts. He wasn't flashy, just ready. He walked slowly and calmly. No smile, no frown. Just a quiet face full of focus. People stepped aside as Keanu entered the ring. He didn't say anything. He just stood there and looked at Rico. Rico chuckled. "You sure you want to do this, old man?" Keanu didn't answer. He just lifted his fists and got into a fighting stance. The room went quiet. You could hear people whispering. No one really knew what would happen next. Would this be a joke? Or would it be a real fight? A man on the side shouted, "All right, no rules. Just sparring. Let's keep it clean." Rico rushed forward, fast like lightning. He threw a quick jab at Keanu's face. But Keanu dodged it. Then he moved, quickly and smoothly, and tapped Rico on the ribs. Not hard, just enough to show he could have hit stronger. Rico growled and came back swinging harder. Keanu ducked and weaved, moving like he had done this 1,000 times before. People watching started to murmur. He's actually good. He's fast. Rico tried again and again, but Keanu kept dodging. And once in a while, he landed little hits. Not enough to hurt, but enough to show he wasn't afraid. Rico's face turned red. He was getting frustrated. "Stand still and fight, coward." Keanu smiled a little. "Why? You can't hit what you can't catch." Rico rushed again, but Keanu slipped to the side and gave a soft kick to Rico's leg. Rico stumbled. The crowd gasped. Then Keanu stepped back and put up his hands. "That's enough," he said calmly. Rico looked angry. "What, scared to finish?" Keanu shook his head. "This isn't a movie. You don't always need to win to learn something." Then he turned and walked out of the ring. Rico stood there, breathing hard. He wanted to yell. He wanted to keep fighting. But deep inside, he knew what had happened. Keanu had made him look silly without even trying to hurt him. The people around clapped, not for Rico, but for Keanu. Quiet, respectful claps. Rico looked around. The cheers weren't for him anymore. And for the first time in a long time, Rico didn't feel like the biggest guy in the room. Reeves didn't say anything. He just started wrapping his hands with tape. His fingers moved quickly, like he had done it many times before. That's when Rico noticed something strange. Reeves wasn't acting like a nervous fighter. He moved quietly and smoothly, like a dancer. There was something special in the way he tied the tape. He looked calm, not scared. But Rico didn't care. He was full of energy and confidence. He bounced on his toes and smiled. "Let's make it quick," he said. 3 minutes. No rules. Are you ready to bleed? There was no referee, no bell, no real rules. Just 2 men in the center of the room. They slowly walked in circles, watching each other. The crowd stood around them, excited. Rico was the first to move. He ran forward fast, throwing punch after punch. He thought he could beat Reeves by hitting him quickly, not giving him time to think. But Reeves moves like water in a stream. He slid around Rico's punches, stepping here and there, just out of reach. His feet were light. His body was always in the right place. The people watching gasped when one of Rico's punches almost hit Reeves. It touched his cheek. But then wham! Reeves moved in fast and hit Rico with his elbow, right on the side of his head. Rico stumbled back, surprised. He shook his head and growled, "Lucky shot." Then he rushed forward again. But this fight wasn't going to be easy. What came next was like watching a magic trick. Reeves didn't waste any moves. Every step, every hit had a reason. He wasn't just fighting, he was showing skill, like a master. What Rico didn't know was that Reeves wasn't just a movie actor. He had a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That means he had trained very hard for many years, practicing real fighting, not for money or fame, but for himself. He trained quietly in private gyms with the best fighters, even before mixed martial arts, MMA, became popular. Rico was strong and brave. He had trained too, but mostly in modern fighting. He was loud, proud, and used to winning. But he had never fought someone like Reeves before. Rico lifted his leg high and tried to kick Reeves in the head. But Reeves ducked under the kick and moved in fast. He wrapped his arms around Rico's waist and whoosh, threw him over his hip. Rico slammed onto the mat. The crowd cheered. They were shocked. Rico got up quickly. His face was red with anger. He rushed forward again. This time, he landed a punch right on Reeves's jaw. It was a good, strong hit. But Reeves didn't even fall back. He stayed still, like a rock. Then bam! He hit Rico in the stomach with his knee. Rico bent over, gasping for air. The wind had been knocked out of him. But he didn't stop. He kept swinging. For 2 minutes, the fight went on. It was wild and loud. Rico used his strength and power. Reeves used his training and smart moves. People watching were on the edge of their seats. Some cheered for Rico. Others cheered for Reeves. But then, something changed. Rico started to get tired. He was breathing hard. His punches weren't as fast or strong. His arms felt heavy. Reeves, on the other hand, still looked calm. His moves were clean. Every punch he threw hit the right spot. Every dodge was perfect. Then, Reeves spun around and hit Rico with the back of his fist. It hit Rico's lip, and blood started to drip down. Rico's face changed. He didn't look so sure anymore. He started to realize, maybe he had made a big mistake. Maybe Reeves wasn't just some old actor. Maybe he was a real fighter. With only a few seconds left in the fight, Rico tried to finish it. He pulled his arm back and threw a huge punch with all his strength. But he missed. He was off balance. Reeves saw his chance. He stepped to the side, wrapped his arm around Rico's neck, and pulled him down into a choke hold. It was called a guillotine choke. Rico kicked and struggled. His face turned purple. He tapped Reeves's arm to say stop. Reeves let go. Rico fell to the ground, gasping for air. For a moment, the room was quiet. Then boom! The crowd cheered. They weren't just cheering because someone won. They were cheering because it was such a great, surprising fight. Rico stayed on his knees, breathing hard. He didn't say anything. His pride was broken. He wasn't used to losing. Reeves walked over and held out his hand to help Rico up. But Rico shook his head. "Didn't know you had that in you," he mumbled. His voice was soft. Reeves didn't brag. He didn't smile. He just nodded. "No gloating. No showboating," he said. "You're good, kid. But there's always someone better. Remember that." Then Reeves turned and walked away, leaving Rico behind with the crowd and his own thoughts. After that day, everything happened fast. Someone had filmed the fight, and the video got shared online. Soon, millions of people were watching it. Some thought it was fake, but the people who were there knew it was real. It was raw. It was honest. And it was powerful. Rico's fans were shocked. His reputation took a hit. But Rico didn't give up. He trained harder. He remembered the fight and promised never to make the same mistake again. He learned to respect his opponents and not just depend on strength. Reeves went back to his quiet life. He kept making movies and training in secret. He didn't wear his black belt around or tell people about it. He didn't need to. He knew what he had done. The fans remembered the fight as more than just a cool video. It was a story about learning, growing, and being humble. For Rico, it was a lesson he would never forget. For Reeves, it was just another day. But on that day, He showed everyone that real strength isn't loud. It's calm. It doesn't show off. It just is. Later that night, Rico sat alone in his room. His lip still hurts. His ribs ached. But what hurt the most was inside, his pride. He had thought he was the best. He thought no one could beat him. But Reeves had proved him wrong. He remembered the moment Reeves let go of the choke. The way he didn't cheer or yell. He didn't act like a winner. He just walked away. That made Rico feel even smaller. He realized that real fighters didn't need to show off. They just did what they had to do. The next morning, Rico woke up early. He didn't sleep much. He went to the gym, alone. He looked at himself in the mirror. His face had a bruise. His lip was still cut. But he wasn't angry anymore. He was focused. He started training again. This time, he trained smarter. He didn't just punch and kick hard. He worked on his balance. He studied different fighting styles. He even started learning jiu-jitsu, the same kind Reeves used. At first, it was hard. He lost many times to people smaller than him. But he remembered what Reeves said, "There's always someone better." That made him try harder. Meanwhile, Reeves was back on movie sets. He filmed action scenes, flew through the air, and fought bad guys on screen. But when the cameras stopped rolling, he went to a quiet gym. He trained in silence, with no one watching. He still rolled on the mat, still threw punches at a bag, still bowed to his teachers. He didn't tell anyone about the fight with Rico. He didn't need to. It wasn't about winning. It was about control. About respect. About staying true to yourself. The video of their fight kept going viral. People made slow-motion clips of Reeves's movies. They made memes and music remixes. But the real fans, the ones who loved martial arts, knew it wasn't just a funny video. It was a lesson. Kids in gyms started asking their teachers, "Can I learn the move Reeves did?" Fighters started talking about him with respect. "He's not just an actor," they said. "He's the real deal." Months later, Rico returned to the ring. People weren't sure if he still had it. But he was different now. Calmer. More focused. He didn't yell at his opponents or brag. He bowed before and after the fight. And he won, not just with power, but with skill. After one of his wins, a reporter asked him, "What changed?" Rico smiled and said, "I met someone who reminded me what being a real fighter means." The reporter asked, "Was it Reeves?" Rico just nodded. He never tried to fight Reeves again. He didn't need to. That fight had already taught him more than 100 matches ever could. Years later, young fighters would ask Rico, "Is it true? Did you really fight Reeves?" Rico would laugh and say, "Yes. And he beat me. But he also helped me become better." And somewhere in a quiet gym, Reeves would be training. Still silent. Still strong. Still living by the code of real fighters. Because real strength isn't just about muscles or speed. It's about the heart. About patience. About never thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about knowing that the best fighters don't always look like champions, but they fight like them. And that's why the world still remembers that night. The night a quiet man beat a loud one not with force, but with grace. If you enjoyed this story, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the next thrilling adventure or mysterious twist. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.